Hello, kiddos.
Okay. Well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Hello, kiddos. Welcome back to my channel. You have to ask us. Very different video today, but one we must talk about and discuss and normalize. You know, the subject is very uncomfortable for people, but the more that you talk about it, the better, the more comfortable, the more open-minded you are about learning. Today we're going to talk about microaggressions, our experience as immigrants. We're from Chile, came here in 2007, so that's like a little bit of a backstory. So there are things that we've learned along the way about ourselves. There are things that we've learned about the community here, our culture. Before we get started, I hope you subscribe. It's free and you get a cookie.
And I made the cookies.
And bread.
And bread.
And follow my Twitter, my Snapchat, and my Instagram because I do things on there. And this is my mom. I don't know if I said. This is my mom.
And she's my daughter.
Yes. So before we get into the microaggression term, we want to actually talk about what it means for us to be women of color and our experience with that, because it was a little bit of like an enlightenment for us when we got here to the States. So
I only knew that I was immigrant and I was from Chile and that I was a woman and many other things, but I didn't identify myself as a woman of color until someone invited me to a conference for a woman of color. So I got with my coworker and that was years ago, and I was like,
that's a term.
Women of color, because she was Hispanic too, and we started talking about it. I didn't know I was a woman of color until I got to the United States.
Also because I feel like that term when we were here I don't think it was as popularized as it is now, and I feel like the whole race and anything along that subject matter is so uncomfortable for people to even touch on that term came to us almost as a surprise, and I was like, oh, like that makes sense, okay. But us in Chile, I had never heard of that term.
But we have other type of racism. I mean, we have against indigenous in Chile, and Mapuches and other,
which is really it really is just rooted in colorism. So it just goes hand in hand. And in our community, in the Latinx community, we suffer so much from that as well, and I feel like we don't talk about it.
And I feel that is a key point to connect ourselves, not feeling like, oh, we are Hispanic, we are not, we are not colored, or we have the same issues.
Yeah.
And we need to go back to our root and think about the way we discriminate in our communities. I used to work in HR, that was my background professionally in Chile. And I remember, reading a lot of studies about how we discriminate in terms of your last name, right? The last name was like more Mapuche origin. You were not being even called, or wherever you were living. It really, all these conversations are not meant to hurt anyone. It's just put it out there that this is happening, and we need to call it out. So you were asking me about how I realized I was a woman of color, and part of that growth and that identity was part of my participation in the leadership program that I did last year, 2019, and through LEAP. LEAP is a program that is organized through CALCASA, which is the California Coalition Against Sexual Assault. And my agency, WEAVE, the nonprofit that works with domestic violence survivors, has of course supported me as a part of the program, and that really helped me to keep building that identity as a woman of color, feeling that I'm not alone, that all my feelings in some situation that I didn't feel comfortable at all has a reason, and there is things that is called microaggression and things that are called discrimination, and I have been a part of that system too. Since I'm in a position of leadership right now where I can make decisions and I can support others and I want to make sure that I do everything I can is in my hands, in my power, to call out things, to change things.
A lot of you guys obviously follow me because of who I am and all of that, but you guys can also relate on a lot of the things that we're talking about. We come from similar backgrounds and we all have different experiences from being here. And you might not be a first generation immigrant, but maybe your family was, and you can see how they've struggled with certain things, and you can also struggle. So I asked you guys to either ask for advice or just want us to talk about certain situations that you might be in that might be a little bit weird or uncomfortable because of how people are coming to you about it. The first one that I really liked, because I feel like I've experienced a lot of, was the lack of representation of Latinos or Latinx. People always say if you speak Spanish, you're Mexican. I feel like people just jump to that conclusion because obviously Mexico is closer to the US and they just assume that everyone comes from there.
When you meet people, and of course you can tell that I have an accent, and people, you know, some people really tell me that I'm from many other countries.
So that was another thing also.
Yeah. But one of the things, it was like, if they think that they're Hispanic, they're immediately, they say, oh, I love guacamole.
Or I love tacos. Yeah. I love so many things that we don't even know about.
And actually, I learned to make guacamole in United for real.
And I never even had a proper taco probably until like 3 years ago or something. It's just a weird thing to go through because they kind of immediately almost erase
Empanadas. Empanadas.
Empanadas.
Erase. Porque tacos.
I lost my train of thought. Get out. I mean, yes, but on a serious note, like, you're erasing my whole heritage, my history, because I can't relate to a lot of Latinx people. Like, most, we're not known for spicy food. Most of the Latinx people that I've met are from Central America and up. And I feel like they have a lot more in common than people from South America. So it's really hard to relate. There's not enough representation. So
yeah, and even in terms of music, I didn't grow up with rancheras or bachata or things like that. I grew up with Latin rock music.
Yeah.
So to me, like Fito Páez and Virus and Sui Generis.
very old.
Very old. And it's totally different music. So for me, it was really hard when I got to United States. It was in Maryland. I started looking for a radio, like Hispanic radio, to listen to music.
It didn't make us feel like home.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, okay, this is fun to listen to. I mean, I love reggaeton. Reggaeton is really, really popular in Chile, but the bachata especially, that didn't become as popular as it is now. Like before, it became bigger as artists came out and stuff. But when I was there, I had never heard of bachata. I heard bachata here.
We are not Hispanic. We are not just tacos and guacamole. And so we love Mexican. It's not about don't like it, all that. It's just making sure people understand that
we're not all the same.
We have different backgrounds. It's making sure that people understand that we are, even in the Hispanic community, we are so diverse. And that is the main thing. Nothing is better than other. It's just we are totally diverse.
And that's the beauty of it, because you can't group everybody together in one thing just because you don't know. So that's where people who don't know come in, and they have to kind of put it on themselves to want to learn about another culture, to want to learn about what do they cook in Bolivia, what do you dance in Brazil, for example. Someone asked me, we were talking about our childhood. So he's Mexican, but he was born here and everything. So he didn't speak Spanish fully, but you know, he was like really, I guess, trying to get to know me. So he was saying, oh my God, yeah, my girl make these tortillas. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. He was like, oh my God, did you grow up with tortillas and like your grandma would make your tortillas and like with beans? And I was like, no, we ate bread and avocado. Even in our own community, we don't even know like how to approach the subject, because it's weird. I mean, it is weird to even ask, but that's why you have to make it light and just fun, and more so coming out of curiosity too, because there's a lot that I would love to learn about other cultures too. I mean, I don't know everything.
We talk about culture with a lot of pride. So ask.
Another question was, have you ever been insulted because of your race or just simply being you? My mom got a job in California. As you know, we live in separate states. I live in Maryland, she lives in California because she got a great job. And so when she got there and she was talking about her wonderful job, she's a director in this nonprofit and everyone's really, really proud. But yeah, so she of course endured some weird comments about it.
So one of the comments when I got the job here in Maryland, one of my coworker, she said something like, "Oh yeah, because California have a lot of Hispanic," and I'm like, no. Even being a bilingual, it wasn't even a requirement really. And no, I got the job because I
you're
freaking
good.
killed it, and because I'm good and my strength. I didn't get a job because I was speaking Spanish. It's so insulting because all my years of preparation and experience,
studying, money
and investment, time reduced to being bilingual.
When you are told those things, you're like, you don't really think about it as deep until after the fact, and you're like, oh, that was such a backhanded comment. Someone asked about the term illegal versus undocumented and the right and wrong term, and so obviously it's undocumented. Nobody is illegal in any terrain. Also, borders are not real.
One of the things that it's kind of scary is the lack of compassion from people that they have no idea what is meant to be undocumented in the United States. The feeling of the kids feeling, going to school and feeling that when they're coming back home, they may not have their parent at home because they have been deported. That fear of being left alone. It's the lack of compassion of people when they see things like that. People don't care at all because they're not their issue, right?
Also, this country is so selfish. Like the people in this country, the individualism in this country is really strong. When something happens that they're ignorant about, they don't know the subject too well, they're like, well, if it doesn't affect me, then I'm not gonna bother with it. These families have sacrificed everything to come here to be able to make ends meet for themselves because they would do anything to have a better life for themselves.
Humanity has been built through immigration. There is like catastrophe, people move.
Because at the end of the day, who are you to say you can't come to this country because you're not white or you're not a citizen, blah, blah, blah. What they have in their hearts is just hatred because no matter how you're doing the process to come to a different country, you're still are met with the same issues. Like people are still like, well, if you don't like it here, go back to your country. Well, if you think there's so many issues here, go back to your country.
No, everybody is running away from poverty or there's like so many reasons you're here. There's a reason we came for like family reasons. And then we stay here for family reasons as well. And actually I moved to California for family reasons too. People, that is our case, but it doesn't mean that other cases can be similar or some people just moving for better conditions and that is totally okay. I remember years ago we went to an agency to do our taxes. They have this, that was my first year here. They have like a big sign that it said TIN number. And I was like, what is that TIN? What does it mean TIN number? You can use your TIN number. So I started thinking, so you don't have a social security number because you are undocumented, but the United States giving you a TIN number so we make sure you pay your taxes. However, you pay your taxes, but you don't have anything in return. You don't have a health insurance or Medicare or welfare. You don't have any of that because you are undocumented, but you pay. That's why immigration reform it's so needed for people who are living and building their life for years here and not going back. They have ties here. They have their kids and grandkids. Yeah, they can buy houses, they can buy cars, get a job, and build a whole, even open businesses but they're
have nothing to like back them up if something goes wrong. Like they'll just lose everything that they've worked for because they don't have the government doesn't back them up.
So there's other microaggression, clothing, appearance.
Looking like the stereotype. And where did the stereotype come from? I don't even know. I don't know who it's based off of.
It's kind of like for example, being sexy.
The red lip was not on purpose, but I forgot to say, along with the stereotype, a lot of it comes from films, and that will be gangster stereotype, the maid or the nanny, right? Or the one who is always speaking Spanish. It's not just the spicy stereotype, but that's what I've gotten the most of, so that's what I thought of first. But I'm gonna put up some pictures in movies and stuff like that so you can really understand what I'm talking about. Wearing red lipstick.
Yeah, even though you see in the movies and everywhere,
when you get called like spicy or like, oh my god, you're so sassy and like blah blah blah, and it's like, no, I'm a human being and I'm expressing emotions, and because of where I come from, that's how it's looked at. It's just really weird.
And sometimes when you are upset, because we get upset, right?
Yeah. As normal people do.
But the way that you are expressing, and it's like really this miss the whole what you are expressing. So kind of you are expressing a point of view, you are expressing your idea. You get upset because someone is not getting the point, so maybe your voice is going to be higher. You raise your voice and you keep saying and expressing in a way so people understand. But to this means whatever you are saying, who cares what you are saying, is going to be, oh, that Latin passion. And I remember being in a meeting also, and I can be expressing a point of view or an idea or a comment, whatever, and then you have someone who with really great and good intention can say, oh, what Paula wants to say. And I was like, I don't need interpreters. I can have people asking me, could you repeat? Because misunderstanding exists in any language.
Right.
So you ask.
You don't over-explain someone's idea when they've already said it. I'm a very outspoken person, so if I hear someone say something a little stupid, I usually say something. And I know that's not everybody's personality. If you're at home, let's say, and maybe your dad or your mom or your grandma, whatever, they say something a little not, great, you can pull them aside or, call them out right there. But try to teach instead of attack, because people go into like survival mode. So you have to make them understand where those microaggressions come from, the root of the problem. Because then when they see that, then you can backtrack and be like, oh, okay, then, because really that's how you learn. You can't expect someone to just be open to information that they don't know anything about.
Sometimes people may feel that, okay, we passed already that teaching moment. And because it gets really frustrated. And I get that too. So I'm not here to give advice. We're just talking about it. But feel free also to say, you know what, I'm not teaching anymore. Yeah. I'm going to call people out and I don't care the consequences. That is really up to you. And I feel like everyone should feel that they have the power to stand up for themselves and write down
if it's worth it or not. Sometimes it's really not worth it to even say anything. I feel like people want to say things for shock value. Don't bother, because they don't want to learn.
Find people who has similar values to you and build a supporting community. So when you experience a microaggression, you have somewhere to go to talk about it in a safe place.
And this is why I've always said that it's totally okay to cut people out. People say that it's kind of extreme and that it doesn't help the situation, because again, like with the whole teaching and blah blah blah, and it's like, I don't find it worth it. It's not technically our job. It's not the oppressed people's job to teach the oppressor. I'm sure you've seen that around. That was a great message. I had it in my head. That's the whole point, because we didn't make this. This isn't our doing. but we live it every day. Well, thank you for tuning in. That's it.
I hope you enjoyed, and thank you for all your comments and be part of this conversation.
And hopefully the comment section is just a nice healthy thread of conversations and discussions about these things. And you know, you can comment about your own issues with microaggression and what you've gone through.
This is just our conversation. It's not meant to be given to a class how to manage your life.
I hope you guys are having a wonderful day or a wonderful night or whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.